My name is Tracy Metz. I'm the host of the live talk show and digital web magazine Stadsleven, City Life. City life is about urban issues, and now that over 50% of the world's population lives in cities, what happens in cities is relevant and urgent for all of us. This is part of a series of video interviews that I've held with, among others, Saskia Sassen, Richard Sennett, Anthony Townsend, and Yevgeny Morozov. You can see them on our website, www.stadslevenamsterdam.nl. Today I'm speaking with Maarten Hajer, Director of the Netherlands Environmental Assessment Agency and the curator of the International Architecture Biennale in Rotterdam next year, The Next Economy, and also the author of this book, together with researcher Tom Dassen, Smart About Cities, Visualizing the Challenge for the 21st Century Urbanism. In this book, you say that we put too much faith in technology and that we need to focus more on smart urbanism. But what is smart urbanism?
Smart urbanism starts really with the city and not with the technology. So it's a plea to not be taken away by the new technologies and see the city as a playground for tech people, but reconfigure this whole thing and make smart cities work for us. And that implies that you start with what you want in the city or the problems that you realize you're struggling with. So in the book, it's very much focused on the metabolism of the city, so very much environmental problems, water problems, energy problems, but you can take it actually broader. So in the next version, I would say much more about social interaction and innovation, and how can we make cities productive again? And productive then also in a sense that it's not just financial, but actually has a social return, so that people have improvements in the quality of their lives.
In your book you say that policymakers tend to see smart cities as a program, and the ICT companies who stand to make a lot of money on our fascination with technology now see the city as a market. Where does that leave us as citizens?
Well, citizens and urbanites are folks that at some point will undoubtedly step in and make their their statements, but they better be quick, because there is a coalition that sells expensive products to cities, and once you're in, you're in. So how about a driverless vehicle? It's one element, that's very much centered to the smart cities discourse. But how important is it to propagate a self-driving vehicle? Or is that something that will occur and that you will facilitate? But I never see that as a dream. And I think that is a mistake. So these urbanites, these urban citizens, should say, well, hey, I like these new smart possibilities, but I want to use them for my purpose. And they should express that much more forcefully than they do currently, I think, because it's expensive stuff, ICT, and local governments that are under austerity regimes, see also a possibility to get private investments through a smart city intervention, and they will get the goodies as paid for by the private corporations, but it will mean that we as consumers develop a relationship with these tech corporations and pay per view, pay per byte, pay per mile. And where does that leave us as a public entity, as a community, as an urban community?
In the book, you discuss this new relationship between the public and the private sectors with the example of a bus system. A city needs a new bus system, and you say the city can better decide what it needs and then ask the private sector to develop the product and not try and develop the product itself. So you're opening up quite an important role for the private sector, more than it has till now.
Well, at the moment it is being done. I mean, you do have a system in the Netherlands where you would say, well, we want so much service on those lines, and then there is a competition. But I want to dig deeper. I would like to have a better discussion on what sort of qualities we think are crucial to our urban life, and then see if we can connect these smart city technologies to that. And perhaps we don't need technology. So, well, here's a case from care. European cities have aging populations. And in 20 years, there will be 3 times more people 70 plus as currently. That's a lot. So how are we going to deal with the elderly that are going to be lonely and health dependent? Now, there is a possibility to say, well, we give them all an Apple Watch. And the Apple Watch will monitor if they're okay. And if there's a problem, then we send somebody. Or perhaps we send even a robot that can then see if it's really necessary to see a human. And you see how tempting that is, that how nice it would be, because there's no labor costs in that involved. But is that what we want? Or do we want to reconfigure the city in such a way that these elderly people have a more communal life, that they can take care of themselves? And undoubtedly they will need smart technologies, but related to reinforcing a sense of community. Now these are design choices, and we really need designers, not the designers that are interested in aesthetics per se. We want designers that can see how a system works and then say, no, we can reconfigure a system, we can tilt it, we can do it differently, and then with better sort of public outcomes.
So efficiency does not necessarily make for a better city.
Efficiency is, I mean, if you want to be a popular guy and you say on a party that you're into efficiency, is that you think, oh wow, I want to talk further with this person. If, however, somebody says, I'm really concerned about something and I want to do it better and therefore I want to make it more efficient, then you say, okay, that's cool. So efficiency in itself is nothing.
It's cool.
And the one mistake that we are really tempted to make is to make the existing system more efficient. And that's definitely not the way to go. We need to reconfigure. We need to make the system green. We can only use 10% of the fossil fuels that we use currently. And we need to really take care of the talents of our people, because we can't have a system that's economically doing well, but with such a social inequality that there's a large group of people out of work.
You say in your book that the smart city discourse is ahistoric. What do you mean by that?
Well, for those who know a bit about the city and its history, it's very comical to see how some of the things that are presented new are constants. So, for instance, the dream of the driverless vehicle is the dream of the 1939 Futurama of General Motors. Because in that Futurama of General Motors was the dream of 1960, and they had cars that were radiographic in their control. So that was the dream that they dreamt in 1939, and now they sell that dream to us again. So in that sense, but as an academic, you say, well, why didn't it work in the first place? I mean, okay, so now we're certain it's going to work, and it's going to be an improvement to our life. Apparently, it's a tech dream. Huh? So in that sense, it's a history.
Maybe we're just fascinated by new toys.
Oh yes, the boys are always fascinated by new toys. Yeah. No, so, but that is ironic. But you can also say, well, let's also think about folks that in the past have spotted new technological possibilities and have tried to do it differently. So I hope to also in the ARR show, for instance, the Witkar by Lutz Schimmelpenninck, who used sort of new tech at the time, that's 40 years ago, to introduce what's now Boris bikes, right?
Yeah.
But he was really pushed out of politics because people thought it was a bizarre idea. So it took 40 years. What a waste. What a waste. If we would have been more appreciative of those sort of innovators and that they're cutting edge and say, well, now we have for the first time the possibility to do this with the technology, we may actually have a much better city also for the future. So let's be much more historic about the fact that we often miss the innovations that are, say, not only technological, but apply to social issues as well.
And how will this all gel in the designs that you'll be showing at the Architecture Biennale with the theme, The Next Economy?
How it will gel, that's still to be seen. There's a call for projects that goes out in April and has to be answered to by half June. So there's lots of possibility to the designers. But I think what I have in mind is that we show the technology much more than as usual. So if a classical architectural biennale often has the drawings and the spatial layouts, I think this is an age in which you will see that the technology becomes more important. And it would be nice to show the physicality of that. I think that is something that appeals to me.
Even though your message is that we should not put all our eggs in the basket of technology and first decide what we need as citizens and as a city, and then bring in the tech where appropriate.
That's right. So
not too many iPads.
It's not going to be a convention center with new technological tools. It's all about reconfiguration. So if people do interesting things with that, then I'm interested in showing those projects.
And when will we be able to see the final results?
It opens up at the end of April 2016.
Looking forward to it. Thank you for joining us, Maarten Hajer.
Pleasure.